Think, the American Revolution. What if I told you that a lot of what we believe about the birth of the United States is, well, just plain wrong? From midnight rides to famous last words, our history books are filled with stories that are more fiction than fact. Today, we're teaming up with an expert historian to debunk 7 of the biggest myths about the Revolutionary War. Get ready, because what you're about to hear will change how you see American history forever. This is HistorYo, and we're rewriting the story. Let's start with the big one. Myth number 1. The war was all about a tax on tea. We all know the story of the Boston Tea Party, right? Colonists, furious about taxation without representation, dumped tea into the harbor. While the Tea Act of 1773 was definitely a spark, it wasn't the whole powder keg. The real issue was much broader. For years, Britain had been tightening its grip, passing laws like the Stamp Act and the Quartering Act, which forced colonists to house British soldiers. It was a long-simmering frustration over a lack of control and self-governance. The tea was just the final straw that broke the camel's back. The revolution was a fight for freedom, not just a fight against a beverage tax. Okay, on to myth number 2. Paul Revere wrote alone, famously shouting, "The British are coming." This is probably one of the most iconic images of the revolution, but it's mostly a product of a poem written almost 100 years later by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. First, Revere wasn't alone. He was part of a complex alarm system involving dozens of riders, including William Dawes and Samuel Prescott. Second, he wouldn't have shouted, "The British are coming." Why? Because at that point, most colonists still considered themselves British. Shouting, that would have been confusing. Instead, his message was much more specific and discreet. The regulars are coming out. He was warning that the British troops were on the move from Boston, not announcing a foreign invasion. The real story is one of organized, covert intelligence, not a lone man on a horse yelling at the top of his lungs. Now, for myth number 3. The colonists were all united patriots, fighting together for independence. This idea of a unified front is a powerful national myth, but the reality was far messier. Historians estimate that only about 40 to 45% of the colonial population were active patriots. Another 15 to 20% were loyalists, who remained faithful to the British crown. And the rest, they were neutral, just trying to stay out of the conflict and protect their families. The Revolutionary War wasn't just a war against Britain. It was also America's first civil war. Neighbors turned against neighbors, and families were torn apart by divided loyalties. It was a deeply fractured society, and the path to independence was anything but unanimous. Ready for myth number 4. The American militia, made up of scrappy farmers, won the war on their own. We love the underdog story of Minutemen defeating the world's greatest army. While the militia played a crucial role, especially in the early days at battles like Lexington and Concord, they couldn't have won the war by themselves. The real backbone of the American victory was the Continental Army, a professional fighting force trained and led by George Washington. These were disciplined soldiers who endured incredible hardship at places like Valley Forge, and even they didn't do it alone. The turning point of the war came with crucial foreign aid, particularly from France, which supplied money, troops, and a navy that was essential in trapping the British at Yorktown. It was a combined effort of a professional army and powerful allies, not just farmers with pitchforks. Let's tackle myth number 5. British soldiers were all ruthless tyrants in redcoats. Popular culture often paints the redcoats as one-dimensional villains, but these were professional soldiers, and many were just ordinary men doing their job. While there were certainly instances of brutality, many British soldiers were disciplined and had a complex relationship with the colonists. Before the war, they were often stationed in colonial cities, interacting with the locals, and sometimes even marrying into colonial families. The image of the lobster as a mindless brute is largely wartime propaganda designed to dehumanize the enemy. Like in any war, the reality of the soldiers on the ground was far more nuanced than the simple hero versus villain narrative we often hear. Time for myth number 6. George Washington was a flawless military genius who never lost a battle. Washington is rightly revered as a foundational leader, but his military record is more complicated. In fact, he lost more major battles than he won, especially early in the war. The retreats from New York in 1776 were devastating defeats. So, what was Washington's true genius? It wasn't in winning every single engagement. It was in his incredible resilience and his strategic brilliance at keeping the Continental Army together. He understood that he didn't have to win every battle. He just had to keep the army from being destroyed. His ability to maintain morale, inspire his troops through incredible hardship, and execute daring, strategic strikes, like the crossing of the Delaware at Trenton. That was his true genius. He won the war not by being invincible, but by being unbreakable. And finally, let's debunk myth number 7. Patrick Henry's famous speech ended with a line, "Give me liberty, or give me death." This is one of the most quoted lines in American history, but there's a big problem. We have no proof he actually said it. The speech was given in 1775, but no transcript was made at the time. The famous words we know today come from a biography of Patrick Henry written by William Wirt in 1817. More than 40 years later, Wirt reconstructed the speech based on interviews with people who were there, but there's no concrete evidence. Did Henry say something similar? Probably. His speech was undoubtedly powerful and persuasive, but the exact, dramatic wording we all memorize in school is likely a historical flourish, a legendary quote crafted long after the fact to capture the spirit of the Revolution. So, from tea taxes to famous last words, the American Revolution is far more complex and fascinating than the simplified stories we've been told. Debunking these myths doesn't diminish the bravery or importance of the era. Instead, it gives us a richer, more human understanding of how the United States was truly born, not in a single, glorious moment, but through years of struggle, division, and complex choices made by real people. History is never as simple as it seems. What do you think? Were you surprised by any of these? Let me know in the comments which myth shocked you the most. And if you enjoyed digging deeper into the real stories behind the history books, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.